Okay, so now today we can talk about gold layer for customer. So basically, whatever this is our catalog. Inside this catalog, we have a silver schema. We have two tables inside that. We have customer table and product table. Okay. Now our next objective is to load the data from the silver layer into gold layer. So we already have created one gold schema. Okay. So inside this gold schema, we have to implement the customer dimension with the help of slow changing dimension of type 2. Okay, so first of all we should talk about what is slow changing dimension. So basically, if you are talking about customer is nothing but a kind of master data. For example, we have already seen an example of ATM transaction. So for example, if you are going to ATM and withdraw some money, right? So you will get a receipt or slip of withdrawal. Then in that slip, you can see account number, you can see transaction type and amount that you have withdrawn. So next time if you are withdrawing it, it means the account number would remain same. Account number will not change. Transaction type will not change. Okay, but amount will change. So basically, all the story behind this concept is we have in our data, we have something known as attributes. So attributes are those things which rarely change, because if account number will not change because of your transaction, right? Account number can be changed. For example, if any bank professional, bank people wants your account number to be changed from 10 digit to 16 digit, right? In that case, the account number will be changed. So the meaning of this concept is when we have attributes would rarely change, but it will not be dependent on your any kind of transaction, right? Right. So if we have to load the customer is what? Customer is my attributes, right? So loading a customer master data, we need to how we can load this data. We have to understand. So basically, in our silver layer, we have a data for these columns. For example, we have a data known as customer ID, and we have something known as customer name, customer region, and so on. Correct? In our silver layer. So if I see right now in my silver layer, what is the date? Which I'm having, if I go to my silver layer, I'm having this column: customer ID, city, state, domain, full name. Okay, something like that, right? So if I have to load this data, simply, let's say this is the data I'm having in my silver layer, right? And basically, this is a customer data, and customer is my attribute, right? So we have something known as customer ID. Okay, and let's say we have a region and other columns like city and so on. We have other columns, right? So this is the data we have in the silver layer. Now we have to load this data in the gold layer. Okay, so in gold layer, we want to introduce the concept of star schema or extended star schema. It means we have a fact table, and fact table is surrounded by dimension tables, right? So we have customer as one dimension, region as another dimension. We could have more dimensions also, but first of all we should handle how we can create this dimension table. So basically, uh, the first thing which we have to create is dim id or sid, right? What is dim id and sid? It is a primary key, okay, against each and every master data. For example, if I see the data I'm having, like data for so all the customers, right? We have some regions, right? Like we have India is a region, right? Let's say we all have regions, right? And city, let's take an example with the two columns only. So for every data, like this is the data I'm having, right? So this is the data. We have this customer id, cust id, and we have something known as region, right? So before loading the data into gold, what I need to do, I need to create the dim ids. And what are dim ids? Dim ids are basically, for every record there will be unique number. Okay, so we can also create this dim id with the help of window function. And window function is nothing but a subset of the data where we can apply like ranking, dense ranking, row number. So in this case, the row number would help. Okay, we will see how we can generate this dimension ID or surrogate ID for each and every master data in just after a few minutes, right? So basically the concept is, why I want to create a dimension table for customer, and within this dimension table I want to create a dim IDs. Okay, and dim IDs is nothing but a sequence of numbers created for each and every record based on customer ID, right? And because we are implementing SCD type 1, so we should also understand the concept of SCD type 1. So SCD stands for slow changing dimension. What does it mean? Because this is a master data, so that's why we call this as a dimension. Dimension is nothing but a master data. So master data rarely changes. Your account number will rarely change, your name will rarely change, right? For example, a customer um, is living in the region, he is doing business in the region India, okay, starting from 1st January till 1st May, but after 1st May he moved to some other region, right? So definitely your customer master data will change, right, once he moved to other region, right? So we are having actually two kinds of data load for master data. One is SCD type 1 and another one is SCD type 2. Okay, SCD type 1 means that you will store the master data, which means you will accommodate the change, but you will not preserve the history. Okay, what does it mean? It means that, for example, if I'm having a customer C1, right? Like, let's say this is the, okay, let's say customer C1 doing work, okay. So example, the valid date, there is something known as valid date, okay, and the valid date is like valid from and valid to date. Okay, let's say from January to 25, right, till 30th April, right, April 25. Okay, he worked for India. Now after on 1st of May, on 1st of May, what has happened? This customer is moved from India to US, right? So what will happen? I have two options. Option number one, if I am making the data load, if I am doing the data load, but if I am doing it for type 1, it means I will not preserve the history. So what I will do, I will simply overwrite the data from India to US. Okay, and I will be having actually two dates. One is create date and another one is update date. Okay, so imagine the first time when this customer came into my table is 1st of Jan, right? So my created date will be 1st of Jan, because create date will be the initial, will depend on initially when this data is loaded, and updated date will be 1st of May, right? Okay, so because on 1st of May it got updated, right, and but it is not preserving the history. History means it is not preserving from which date to which date what was the previous record. It is simply overwriting the record. So this kind of data load is SCD type 1. And here for customer data load, we are using SCD type 1. It means we will not preserve the history. But what will happen if I do it for SCD type 2? Okay. So in that case, it will preserve the history. So in that case, what it will do? It will create. Okay. So the create date, if we have to preserve the history, let's see, this was the earlier record. Okay, this was the record during the first time load. Okay, we have a something known as create date and updated. Both date is 1st of Jan, because first time it was loaded on 1st of Jan, right? Imagine on 1st of May the data is changed from India to US, right? So what will happen? The system will create another row for C1 this time, if you are doing it for SCG type 2, and system will update this region as US, and and it will, what it will do, it will, so first create date will be same as before, right? And your update date will become 1st of May. Right. So by this way, it is maintaining the history. Okay, that's the concept. Okay, so it is having two records with it is preserving the history. Okay, but we are not talking about this SCD type 2 right now. We are talking about SCD type 1. So let's see. So SCD type 1, what we have to do. So this is my silver layer. The silver layer contains two columns, customer ID and region. Imagine, right? And as we suggested that first of all, we need to create one column known as dim ID, and another two columns we have to create like create ID and create date and update date. Okay. Okay. So let's now first quickly jump and create a notebook. In this notebook, let me create a notebook, and this time I'm going to just give the name of the notebook as gold underscore customer underscore SCD type 1, right? Okay, let me close this. Okay. So the very first thing what we have to do is uh, so we have to first define a flag for our initial load and subsequent load. Now let's talk about what is initial load. So right now, if you see in your catalog, the table is there. You have this table. Okay, this table is having data, and how you can see the table is having data, you can simply just check select a star from um, this ADB catalog. Under catalog, you can go inside the silver and you can go and check the customer data, right? So this will give you, so let me first connect to my server, right? This will give you the records you have in this table, right? So you already have this the data in within this table. Okay, so first time it always takes time. So init load is nothing but first time when table was not existing, right? So where table was not existing. So if you see, we are loading data from silver to gold layer. So right now in gold layer, gold schema, I don't have any table. No table is there, right? So definitely this will be my first time load, right? So uh, so this will call as a init load. So what we did, we can create a flag. We can create a init flag, a parameter, and if the value is 1, that means true. 1, I am just making like a true. If it is true, then it will load the data initially. Initially what will do, it will copy the data from silver and it will load into gold, right? And if the init load equals to 0, then the because first time load is over, the next time whenever the load happens, it will load with the flag name as 0. Okay, for init load 0. Okay, so right now we can see this is the data we have these columns. Okay, and I just want to, this data is available in my silver layer. I need to just load this data in a gold layer, but in gold layer I need to have one dim IDs, I need to have one create date, and I need to have an update date. Why I should have it? Because I want to load for slow changing dimension of type 1. So if you have to load with for the slow changing dimension type 1, you should have this dim id. And obviously, because I want to create a standard star schema or star schema, so dimension id is required, okay, at the gold layer. Okay, so now if you have to do this, what you have to, first of all, you have to create a data frame, right? So you have to, this is a select, simple select statement you are doing, right? So what I will do, I will just copy this select statement and I will create I will hold this data within any data frame. So I will use this df equals to, then I can use spark.sql because I want to use SQL method to create the data frame, and I can paste my code simply, which we have triggered, and I can just check the result by using display command, but I will limit for 10 records. Okay, and I can just hit on execute. So it will show me it has created a data frame first of all. Okay, so data frame is created on top of my table, which is available inside my silver schema, inside my catalog, adb underscore catalog, right? So this is done. Now the very first thing what we have to do, we have to first create the parameter for init load, whether because right now table is not existing. So for init load 1, the table will be created, okay, using this notebook program from silver layer to gold layer, right? So how to create the init load parameter? So we can directly go to edit and create add parameter also, but because every time I will run this notebook, right? So what it should do, it should be creating with the help of widget command. So we have already used dbutils dot widgets, and you can refer those previous exercises that we have done, right? So we will use this widget, and then we will give the name as init underscore load, something like that. Okay, and I can give the value. What value I should give? I should give it 0. No, not 0, 1, because right now I'm just you know running it for 1. Okay. Okay, so this is done. Now I should use to load the value. I can copy the value of this because right now if you see, once you execute that, if you execute that, a parameter will be created with value 1. Now I have to hold this parameter value in another flag. Okay, so let's give the same name. We can give another name also, but this time we will use an integer to hold it, so int, and we will use dbutils.get dbutils.widget widgets.get. Okay, so what we want to get, we want to get the value of this variable within this value of this parameter within this variable. I'm keeping the name of variable and parameter same. If you want, you can make it different also, but that's okay, system will allow you, right? So what we are doing, we want to create a parameter with the name as init load, and this parameter you have assigned the value as 1, and you have copied this parameter value within one variable. Okay, and how it will help? So basically for init load 1, we will draw all the logic, okay, using this parameter, and we can change the parameter. For example, the if we are doing it first time, we will change the parameter for 1. If we are doing for the subsequent load after first time, we will change it for 0, right? So right now the parameter is 1. Fine. Okay. Okay, so we have successfully created the you know data frame. Now what next? The next is, you can see the data. The data is there could be a duplicate, but ideally in a master data there should not be a duplicate because you are loading the master data. Okay, so if it is a duplicate value, you should remove it. So what is the primary key in my this data set? The primary key is customer ID, right? So the first thing what I should do, because I need to create a dimension ID, right? I need to create a dimension ID, right? So dimension ID can only be created for each and every unique customer IDs, unique records, right? Only, right? So in that case, what I should do, if there are any duplicacy, we need to remove this, right? So what I should do, I can just remove the duplicates, remove duplicates using primary key. And what is the primary key? primary key is my customer. Just a second. How to remove the duplicates? So we can simply use this df dot with drop, okay, because we need to remove this. So drop, and you can just have this selected, drop duplicates, and then you have to use subset, right? Because you are not dropping it with for entire with the help of entire column. You are only checking one column, so that's why you are using subset, and within this subset you can pass your customer id, the name of the column. Okay, and if you want to check the data, the same thing. Correct. So this way, um, but you will not see any difference because we don't have a duplicate right now. Okay, but if it is duplicate, then you would be able to see the difference. Okay, now the next thing is we need to create our surrogate key column or dimension IDs or dim IDs, right? So how to do that? Let's create SID. Okay, simple. How to create SID? So as I told you, we have many functions available with us. Like we have window functions. We inside window function we can use row number to create each and every row. But we have some, very mostly used PySpark function. This is SQL function only, which is known as monotonically increasing ID. So we will use that. So before using that function, what we should do? We should call the functions. We should use this command like from PySpark. This we have done earlier also, right? Let's remove all these things. Okay, so we are just importing the PySpark functions, PySpark SQL function and PySpark SQL type with the help of this command dot types, and then we will use import. I'm not using this window function row number, right? Otherwise I would have, if I have used row number to create the SID or dim ID, then I will be importing window also. Okay, but right now this is enough. Okay, let me run this code. Now if I run this code, then I can simply create the SID column. Okay, how we can create the SID column? With the help of with column statement that we have done before also, right? But before creating an SID column, you can see your first row is like C01220, C01579. Do you think it's in order? It's not in order, right? Numbers are randomly coming, the customer ID. So what we should do, if I create the dimension ID, what will happen? The first row will be assigned to this one, the second row will be assigned to this one, third row will be assigned to this one. So there is no problem, right? Obviously it's a unique row, but this is not looking good because it is not sorted. So you should sort it in ascending order before assigning any SID, right? This is the best practice. So what we should do, we should use the sort option. So I'm going to do it for df data frame. So I'm using this sort, and if I have to sort, on what basis I am sorting? I'm sorting on from the basis of customer wise I want to sort, right? So I will be using sort. And what is the order? So I want to sort it as an ascending order, right? So this is the best way of writing the code, ascending, and then I will use true, right? And let's see the data as well. Okay, okay. So if you want to just write something like sorting customer wise, something like that, right? So this will give you your data frame in a shorted way. You can see now the difference. The difference is customer ID is now arranged, you know, uh, from ascending order. Now this is more clean. Now if I create the dim IDs on this data, it will really make sense because first ID will be assigned to first, second to the second, like this, right? So it will really make sense, right? So now I can successfully create the dim IDs. So how I can create? I can create with the help of with column statement, with column, and within with column, what I need to create? I need to create dim ID. So I am just going to create dim uh, customer key. So it is giving me a suggestion. So let's, and in customer key, I will use this monotonically increasing ID. So this is the already defined functions. But when you are using monotonically increasing ID, this will start from zero row. For example, zero ID will be assigned to first. Do you want zero? If you want, you can use this, otherwise I don't want. So what I will do, I will add number one in each and every ID which he has created. So if it is zero, then zero plus one become first. If it is one, it one plus one, it will become two. So I'm going to add one constant. So if I have to add one constant, I will be using this lit function, right? And I will pass this one. It means it will, this constant will be added every time, right? So this will create the dimension IDs. Okay, let's see. You can see this dim ID is created and it is starting with 1 because I added, you know, actually this function gives you the row number starting with 0, but if you add 1, it will start with 1. Fine. So this is more clear. Now, here is the concept. So basically, what we have done, if you see this, we have a silver layer. In silver layer, I was having two column like customer and region. Okay, and imagine initially I was having this column. So I have created a flag. The flag with, if the flag init value is 1, right, it will be a initial load. Okay, init load 1 means it's a initial load. It means true, right? So I kept a parameter to, just, but actually if you see right now in gold layer, this table is not existing, right? So during init load, what I have to do, I have to create this table. While creating the table, I need to create the dimension ID against each and every row, and I should also have to create my create date and update date. Okay, fine. Now if I simply create this, right, now we should first understand the concept how this create date and update date is getting loaded here. Okay, okay, let me explain you in much better way. Okay, so so let's say in silver layer we were having this customer and we are having the region, the two column. Okay, customer was C1 till C8 and region was India. Okay, simply forget about, we don't have any other column, right? Now in our gold layer we don't have any table. It means what we have to do, we have to initialize the load. We have to do the load first time. So we created a variable known as init load variable and we kept the value as 1. Why I'm keeping this value as 1? So that I can identify that this is my first time load. init load, initial load, you can say. But in initial load, I don't have a table right now. So system has to, my notebook has to create a new table. But before creating a new table, I don't want to just use, the same structure. Okay, I want to do some kind of transformation because I have to create a dim ID. These are the one column. Second column, I should have to create a create date ID, create date column, and update date column. And why I'm doing it? To I'm dim ID is fine. Why I'm doing it dim ID? Because I want to, create a star schema. But why I'm creating this create date and update it? Because obviously today, if this data is loaded, what will happen? Tomorrow this data can change. For example, for C2, this region could change to Philippines. For C1, this region could change to US. It will change to Sri Lanka. It will change to China, right? Any region it could be, right? So we should track when the first time the data is created and when this is updated. So this is the concept of SCD type 1, slow changing dimension type 1. Okay. Now I can give you a practical example. Okay. Fine. So ideally, we want to copy this data in my gold layer. This is our objective during my init load. If you are doing it init load, we will simply copy the data, and what we will do, we will create dimension IDs. We will create date column, and we will create update date column. Update date, right? So what will be my create date? Because it's a init load. So imagine if I loaded this on 1st of January 2025, right? Jan 2025. This is the date when I did this init load. So the first time the data is getting loaded from my silver layer to gold layer. Where is the arrow? This is the arrow, right? The first time the data is loaded from silver layer to gold layer, right? This is your silver layer, okay, and this is your gold layer, okay, fine. So it will first create a dim ID column with the help of monotonically increasing ID. It will start with 1 and it will go till for each and every row, right? And for create date, what it will do, it will, because this was created on 1st of Jan, so it will copy both first create date and update date for each and every column as 1st of Jan. Is it clear? Okay. Now imagine daily the data is load is happening. The now subsequent load is happening, and in that point of time the subsequent load, the this parameter value will become 0. For only one time it will run with the value 1, but second time the notebook will run with parameter 0. Okay, so it will identify that it is a subsequent load. Subsequent load means if it is loading daily, but daily the data is coming as same, so there is a no change. There's a no change, right? But imagine on 1st of May, what happened? This data got changed from India to US, and we have noticed that new data also came, right, in my gold layer. This is my source. Gold layer is my source, right? So this time, what it will do? First of all, the C1 should be updated with region US. Okay, and because it is updated on 1st of May, so this data, so update date should become 1st of May. Okay, create date should remain same because it was created initially on 1st of Jan, but it was updated now on 1st of May, and it will overwrite the data from India to US. And additionally, it will create a new record also. It will insert a new record also, right? And this time When this new record got created, this has created on 1st of May and updated on 1st of May as per the record, and it will add one more ID to it, right? But it will not simply create any ID, any random ID first. So if you will use this monotonically increasing ID, right, plus 1, so it should give 1, but it will not. It will give maximum plus 1. What is the maximum of previous one? It will add accordingly, right? So in entire our exercise, we need to build this logic, right? So what we need to build? We need to build the logic of dim IDs, creating the dimension IDs. Point number 1, during initial load. Okay, this is the one objective we have to meet. We have to create two columns. One is create date column and another one is update date column. Okay, so whenever the first time data is getting loaded, so create date column will become my current date or current timestamp, you can say, because we always track in the timestamp. And update, if it is a inner load, so same date will be copied within current date and update date. But if it is a subsequent load, right, then create date will remain same if in case of any change. So in subsequent load, there will be two scenario. Okay, what will be the two scenario? One is change record and another one is new record, right? So if you see, what was the change record? Change record was C1. So in change record, what has done? It will merge the data. Merge the data means it will overwrite the data. Point number 1. Second thing, what it will do? It will change the update date. So update date will be changed with current timestamp. You can see update date got changed with current timestamp, right? In case of change record. With this example, you can just visualize. Correct? In case of new record, what will happen? Because C9 is a new record. Okay. First, it will create the dimension ID. Okay. Which will be next to, which will be maximum of your SID, previous SID, maximum of your previous ID plus 1. So what was the maximum of previous ID? It was 8 and 8 plus 1 will become 9. So first it will create a dimension ID and then it will update your create date and update date with current timestamp. Is this concept clear? Okay. Now the most important thing is, if you see the real scenario, this table is not existing right now. Okay. But imagine if this table is existing. First of all, you should know, before implementing all this concept, you should know which records are new record, okay, and which record is change record, right? This is the most challenging part, right? First you should identify which record is new record and which record is change record. Correct? Okay. So how we can decide this? We can decide this in this manner. Okay. For example, let's see. Right now, forget about everything. Okay. We have a silver layer. Silver layer is my source actually. Okay. We have a gold layer. Gold layer is my target, where we have to reach target. Okay. Table. So in a simple manner, if I see, we already know that, in my silver layer, I'm having two columns. One is customer ID, okay, and another one is region. So these are the two columns I'm having. Okay. In gold layer, I'm having these two columns, but addition to that, I'm having other columns as well. What are the other columns? I'm having a dimension ID, right? I am having a create date ID, create date, and I am having an update date ID, update date. Okay, got it. Imagine we have this. Now we have some customer like C1. Let's say we have these four customer, and the region is like India. Okay, we have a customer. So basically, for all these four customers, there will be. So right now, imagine this table is not existing. Okay, so if this table is not existing, definitely we are doing a init load. Init load equals to 1. Yes, we are doing an init load. So if we have to find out whether these record are new record or existing record, how I can do that? How to find out whether the data in my source is new record or existing record? How I can find this out? So what I will do, I will create a left join. So you know what the concept of left join? So concept of left join is we will get everything from the left, and plus we will get everything from the left and from the right hand side. If something is matching, we will get that, otherwise we will get null. Okay, so if I come do the left join between source and target, okay, what will happen? We will get all the customer IDs. So for example, if this is the left table and this is the right table, right, and we are joining with the help of customer ID, right, so we don't have any customer ID available here, right? So for this customer ID, do we have any dim ID? No. So dim ID column will become null, right? Dim ID column will become null, create date column will become null, update date column will also become null, right? So we can easily identify that after left join, if all this comes as null, it means these are new entries. Okay, and if it is not null, right, and how I can get to know if it is changed? So you can just have this thing easily defined here. Okay, so after join, imagine this scenario. If we have a C1, so C10 is the new entry. So for C10, we don't have a data within this left table, right? So if we join these two tables as a left join, what will happen? For C10, there will be null values. Okay, that means C10 is the new record. So how I can identify the new record? If my dimension ID, create ID, and update ID is null, then we can call this as a new record. Okay, but in case of, if I'm checking C1 is India, in this silver layer, C1 has turned into US. Okay, so what will happen? If I join this, right, then C1 will come as US here, but here it is coming as India only, correct? And create date and update date is the previous date. Fine. So it will do a merge operation. So during merge, it will identify, okay, this is the new record, right? So this is how we can differentiate. Anyways, so we will first check here, otherwise we will lose the momentum. Okay, so we are done with while creating the dimension IDs. Okay, so the next is we need to create two things. We need to work on creating. Okay, first of all, we should use this init load. So if my init load equals to 1, so if my init load equals to 1, what is my data load type? So data load type is a init load. So init load, do we have any table? Right? We don't have any table. Okay. So we should have to create a table. So let's create with init load 01. If init load equals to 0, it means if it is a subsequent load. For init load equals to 1, it means it is a. So let's first go with else. Okay. So imagine that table is not existing. So right now, what is the init load value? Init load is 1, right? So we will go inside the else statement, and in else statement, what I will do, I will try to create the table which is not existing. Okay. So, okay. Okay. Give me a moment. Let me explain you. So let's see very clearly. We have a schema known as gold. In gold, we don't have any table, right? And we have a schema named as silver. In silver, we have a table customer underscore silver. Correct. We need to load the data from this customer silver to this gold. Correct. But if we are doing the subsequent load or init load, if it is 1, if I write this code, it will jump into else condition, right? And if it is jumping into else condition, actually the table is not there, right? So first of all, I should be having some table to compare. In this entire scenario which I have explained you, okay, this table is not there, right? But still we want some pseudo table so that I can do this join, right? So in this manner, let's see, this is my source table, but this table is not there. It means data is not there, but the table should be present, right? So we have to create a pseudo table. Pseudo tables means it will not be having any entry. It will not be having any entry, but it will only be having a structure. So pseudo table has to be created. Why pseudo table is required? So that we can perform a join, right? And if we have to perform a join with this pseudo table which is having all null entries, what will happen? The result of join will become null, and we can easily identify, okay, if all are null, it means all are new entry. Okay, and we can simply load that entry, right? So what we are writing, we are trying to create a pseudo table here. How to create a pseudo table? We will use this again, spark.sql. Okay, then I'm writing this select star from customer silver. Why I'm making it for customer silver? Because customer silver is existing. So if I run this code, what will happen? It will, if I run this code with 0 value, it will throw an error. Why? Because right now dim gold table is not existing. So it will throw an error. But I want to create a pseudo table. That's it. So I have taken the reference of silver tables because it is existing, so that it will not throw an error. But it will create all the column as it is, right? So what I will do, because I don't want data inside it, right? So what I will do, I will put 0 and write dim customer key. I can give the name of column which I want. Okay, that's it. But 0 will nullify everything. It will not even enter the data, but it will, create the column for me. Customer underscore ID. and then again I will put 0. Okay, I should put comma, and then again I will put 0. What I need, I need only main columns. Okay, because I want to join this, I want to create a join, that's it. To create a join, I want dim id, I want customer id, I want create date and update date, because this is the deciding factor for me, right? Whether the record is old record or new record, right? So to decide the factor, I need a dimension key, I need a customer key, I need a create date, and I need a update date, update underscore date. Okay, from adb customer server. Now one thing I have to write, where 1 equals to 0. Okay, which will be false. If it is false, then definitely it will not return any value. Okay, but it will create a column. Okay, now so this is the else condition. It means, now let's see if my if condition is true. In case of subsequent load, subsequent load means what? Subsequent load means now this table has already created. If it run for 0, this table has already created, so this table has already the value, so we should give the proper name, right? So what I will do, this old table will contain, so let's mm, copy this entire thing. Okay, paste it here. Okay, and remove this 0. Okay, because this table was existing during the time of, this table will be created, right, during the time of subsequent load, and this will be created, and the value, this table will having the value also, and with the same column name, right? So if you run this, what will happen? This is triggered. You can see why this is triggered, because it went into this else block, because init load is 1. Okay, so this else block, this has validated, because silver customer underscore silver was is already an existing table, and we have kept 0, so this has created your pseudo table. Okay, and why pseudo table is required? Pseudo table is required to perform this join condition. Why we are performing this join condition? Because we need to find out which one is the new record and which one is the old existing record. How to find the new record? If after join, if my dimension id, create date and update date comes as null, then this will be my new record, right? If it is not null, then it is an existing record. So for, you can see all these entries, all these entries starting from C1 to C9 is existing record, because these entries, these IDs are not null, right? So it's very easy to find out using this concept. But because my table was not existing in my target, right? So I am forced to create a pseudo table. And this is the way how to create a pseudo table. Okay. Now, because pseudo table is created and we know why we created the pseudo table, let's first check what is coming with this table. So what I will do, I will simply go and display df underscore sudo. That's it. And I can run this. So what will happen? You can see, as I told you, this will not return any value because data is not there. We kept 0 in front of the columns. But whatever column we have given, right, it has created my data frame accordingly, right? So it will give me an idea. So basically pseudo table is created. And why pseudo table I have to create? Because table was not existing. It was an initial load. Table was not existing. And if table is not existing, how can I perform the join? Right? So this is the concept, because table was not existing. So this page is nothing but, you can rename this as a, init load. Okay. And this is actually an example of your subsequent load. Subsequent load. right? What will happen in init load? Table was not there, but I created a pseudo table. Now I created a join, and what will be my join result? This will be my join result. Or everything will come as null. Then I identified, okay, it is a new record. So everything has to be loaded, right? So this is the way I have done this. Now, if you have done this, the best thing is now you should rename this column. Why you are renaming it? Because if you will not rename, your source will be also having the same name. Your target will also be having the same name. For example, you cannot identify, right? Customer ID, this is coming from source or target. So let's rename this. Okay, so let me rename this column. Um, Renaming column for df underscore old. And why you are renaming it? To identify the columns related to df underscore old after join with source, right? Anyways, how to rename is df underscore old equals to uh, df underscore old dot with column rename, right? Then which column you want to rename? Okay, it's giving me a suggestion. Good, good. That's it, right? Okay, it is giving me so many different lines. Okay, I don't need so many different lines. I can make it more easy. Okay, what I can do, I can give this. Okay, okay. Now it is giving me. Okay, then I can give one more. Sometimes taking this suggestion is a time consuming activity. Okay. Now this is the alignment is not good because all is within this df only, so it should be like this. Anyway, uh, right, let me run this. Now you can see I simply renamed this with old. And why I'm renaming it? Because if I apply the join, I would be able to find out which one belongs to df old and which one belongs to the source. Okay, now what I'm trying to do, I'm having the source table in my silver layer. I'm having a pseudo table in the gold layer. Imagine it's a pseudo table, right? But it's already there, right? Now what I should do, I have to just create a join between both so that I can find out if my dimension id, create id and update id, obviously it's a null, it will come as null. Why? Because it's having zero values. This is the left table, this is the right table. If I make a left join, and how I can make a left join? With the help of customer. We don't have customer over there, right? So everything will be zero, everything will be null, not zero, right? So let's apply the join. So I am going to apply join. And why I'm applying join? Okay, to find whether entries are new or old. Okay, How to apply the join? Simple. I will use this another data frame name as df underscore join. Okay, and my my source. What is my source actually? Source is this, right? Df. Source is this customer underscore silver, right? And we have copied this source under df. Okay, so source will be df. And what is the my target? The target is my df underscore old, which we created just now. Okay, so df will be my left table, so it will come first. Then I will use this join keyword, and inside join I will use this df underscore old. It is giving me a suggestion. So in both the things, now you will understand why I renamed this column. Okay, because I have to specify the join condition. So inside my data frame df, I am having a customer ID. So I am joining both the customer IDs, right? Customer underscore ID. It will be equals to df underscore old. This is the second table. And in this one, it will be customer underscore ID underscore old. And what type of join? It is a left join. Okay. So this has joined. Now I simply want to check the data. Okay, so let's check the data. Simply I'm just want to check for first 10 entries, right? So after joining, you can see the magic. You can see. So this is coming from data frame which we have created. uh, Within the data frame, within the df, uh, okay, this is the df, right? In this df we have already created dimension key. So this dimension key is coming from this data frame df. Okay, this one customer id is again coming from data frame df, and we have already renamed the columns, right? So for example, for old we have renamed the column. So we know that this is coming from my pseudo table, this is coming from my pseudo table, this is coming from my pseudo table, this is also coming from my pseudo table, right? So what does it mean? If it is null, it means all are new records. But if it is not null, then it means those are not new record, those were existing records, right? But this scenario of existing record will only come during the subsequent load. First time everything will be null, right? During the init load, that's why it's coming as null. So we have proved what we are trying to do, right? So the next thing is, yes, the next thing what we should do, we should imagine there are some entries which is already existing. Imagine this is not an initial load, but this is subsequent load. So imagine that you have from starting from 1 to 9, there are all existing record. So there will be, these will not be null. And 10th row is a new record. So only 10th row there will be null. Imagine this scenario. In that case, what you will do? In that case, you will divide the data into two different sections, right? You will separate your new record versus old record. So let's divide the data into new records. Why you are dividing? Because you have to perform different activity for new record and different activity for old record. So divide the data into new records versus old record, right? So I'm just giving you an example by dividing these steps. It might be time consuming for you, I can understand, but it will make very confident. So how I can divide? I can apply the filter, right? And filter, how I can filter? I can apply the filter that okay, if my, I can apply this filter. If my dim id is null, create id is null, create date is null, update date is null, then it is my new entry, it will go to df underscore new, and if it is not null, it will go to df underscore old. Simple, right? So what will be my df underscore new? So df underscore new will be, if in my df underscore join, whatever comes after join, I will do a filter, and I will just do a filter. Okay, it's giving me the, you know, this result. You can see for new records, if it is null, but actually it is checking only one value. Okay, so obviously we can check only one also. Why to check all the things? Okay, do we require to check all the things? You can check, you can avoid also, no problem. Even if you check for dim IDs, that is fine. Okay, so if it is null, if dimension key is a null, that means it is a new record. That's why I copied into new. If it is not null, that means it is a old record, so I will copy into old. Got it? And it should be old. Okay, if I run this will create my two data frames. Two data frame got created, right? So right now you can see the first data frame was a new record. So this is this result. So df underscore new will be having all the entries because it's a init load, initial load. Initially there was no table existing even, so everything is new. That's why dimension key coming as null, and everything comes under df underscore new. And df underscore old, it will be all zero because nothing is existing before. Understood? Okay, now we can move to prepare, update the fields. So as I told you, if it is new record, what we will do, imagine if it is a new record, or even if it is an old record, before coming to new record, if it is an old record, what you will do, you will first, so before going into new record, imagine if it is an old record means this case, what you will do, you will first update date as 1st of May in my current things. Okay, so that portion is not yet. Okay, so imagine this is a table, right? This is your table. Now for C1, you now find out C1 is your old record. What you will do for old record? Because this was loaded on 1st of May, right? So you will first update this update date as 1st of May 25, and you will change the region. You will merge the column with US. Okay. Did you change anything on dimension ID? No, dimension ID will remain same. Okay, because dimension ID you will not touch. Dimension ID will only be created when there is a new addition of records. Okay, so let's see what you will perform. So first, just make this prepare, you can say prepare df underscore old. Okay, and how to prepare the df underscore old? First of all, in this df underscore old, this is your df underscore old, right? These columns was, you only created these columns just for joining the column, just to fulfill the join condition, right? So what you will do, you will drop all these columns, dimension key. Okay, so let's drop dimension key, id, and others. Okay, so first what we will do, dropping all the columns. Okay, which are not required. Which are not required. Okay. So under df underscore old, the first thing what I will do is this. I will drop. I'm dropping all the columns right now. Okay, but create date. Then what I will do, I will rename create old date to create date. Okay, because I would need the create date. So let's not drop the create date. Okay, let's not drop the create date. Renaming once again. Renaming the columns. Okay, which column you want to rename? Create underscore old date to create date. Okay, okay. Then what should be your create date? If you are able to answer it during init load, what will be the create dates? So right now you are trying to build this df underscore old, right? So create date will be current timestamp, right? The timestamp which it is loaded. If it is 1st of Jan, it will be 1st of Jan, yes. So instead of current date, we can call this as current timestamp. Okay. So what I should write, uh, this way: convert create date to timestamp. First of all, okay, because I don't want to get these things in a date format. So df underscore old equals to df underscore old with column. I don't want to create in YYMMDD because I intentionally wants to. Wait a moment, let me see if it is correct or not. So I'm converting this column into timestamp. That's it, right? Okay, it is correct. Then the last step, we have to recreate. So for example, update date, we should create update date also. Okay, recreating, I will explain this, okay, in detail, no problem. I have already explained you, but I know it's difficult for you to grasp in single go. So I will explain you what we are doing. Current timestamp. So update date, we have created a new column known as update date. Okay, and this update date is actually feeding with the current timestamp. Okay, got it. Okay, so this all we are doing for our new data, right? So so if there is a new record, what we will do? We will copy this data, obviously, right? Imagine for init load, we will copy this data, then we will create this dim id. Then what we will do, we if it is old record, sorry, not new record, if it is an old record, the first thing what we will do, we will update our update date as current date, because if it is an old record, c1 was an old record, right? So what we did, we only update date as a current date, and we copied the created date as it is, right? That's it. Okay, this is what we done. So same thing we are doing right away. And even if you check the data, it will not show any result. Let me first execute this. You can see the column is dropped. Let me first see the result. df underscore old dot display, because we don't have any data, so I can simply display, there will be no record. Now you can see what has happened with this code. The first activity, dropping all the columns which are not required. Do you need these columns underscore old now? No, it's not needed, because we created this column only for join condition, only for joining the tables. So we dropped the column which is ending with old, but we have not dropped the column create date underscore old, because we want this column, so we have renamed it. We have renamed the same column, because whatever create date we are having, we want to copy that create date. Whatever create date it is coming, we want to copy that. So I just renamed it. Okay, and in update date I just copied the current timestamp, right? So I have converted the data type of create date from date to timestamp, and update date from update date to timestamp. That's it. Okay, and in update date I copied the current timestamp, today's timestamp, right? And for these things, for create date I copied from the existing data set. So existing date was 1st Jan, so I copied 1st Jan, but for update date I made current timestamp. Got it? Did you get this concept? Yes, sir. Okay, so this is how your df old is prepared. In a similar way, we have to prepare df new. For new record, what will happen? Okay, so for new record, let's prepare df underscore old new, sorry. Okay, so this is a bit complex, we cannot complete this in one part, so we can just see the next this df underscore new in the next part, and then we will complete this. Okay, and please share the video, because I got yesterday the SCD